Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Well, we're about to start a brand new year. And with that, some change coming, and not just the change that you're thinking. I'm not the expert. I'm going to call it a big metaphysical change that we're undergoing right now. And I know a little bit about it, but she knows a lot more about it. She is a spiritual life coach. It's going to guide us through that and what we can expect with that and how to navigate these changes coming. Allison Rowley-Clark is with us from journeytoheavenonearth.com. Allison, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So this change that we're talking about, this is something that started years ago, and it's kind of just cycling through. What does it mean for us? What is this? What is this change?
So I know in the past we talked about the spiritual awakening, and it all ties in. It's actually since it's a worldwide new Earth transition. It's called the Great Awakening, and we're leaving the old world, the old Earth, and we're moving into what we call the new Earth. So last week we talked about the age of Aquarius, and we used to be in the age of Pisces, which age of Pisces was more service to self and materialism. And we are transferring that into the new Earth, service to others, and more love, unity, all one. We're all one consciousness. So that's kind of where we're transitioning, and a lot of people are already doing it. Some are just know about it and they're getting on board. Some don't know about it, like I didn't, and it kind of hit me over the head. And then I've been doing a lot of research in the last couple of years, and yeah, that's how the world has been transitioning since 2012.
That being said, how do we prepare for it? What should we be doing?
The main thing is that you need to start taking care of yourself. Number one, you need to start healing your inner traumas, because it's all going to come down to when we do transfer over into the new Earth. You cannot leave any baggage that you can't bring any baggage that you've been carrying with you. So that needs to be 100% cleared out. So you need to heal your heart. And by healing your heart, you heal your mind. And it starts with your heart. So any like hurtful feelings that you have on anybody else, even if you have the biggest enemy and they've done the most horrendous thing to you that you didn't deserve, that's something that needs to be healed. And it's going to help you. Forgiveness is always for you. It's not just for the other person too. So that just should be a life lesson in itself.
Get rid of the baggage as best you can.
Exactly. Get rid of your baggage.
Okay. How long does it take, this transition into, call it the new world? What are we talking here?
Well, we don't know. I mean, some experts are talking about, like, we're already transitioning. So basically there's 7 different dimensions, and like number 1 starts with rocks, number 2 is plant animals, humans are in the 3rd dimension, which is a very low density. It's very heavy. Out of all the planets in the universe, we are the heaviest, the darkest. And then right now we're transferring into the 4th dimension, where we are moving into more love and understanding and unity with one. It's all about consciousness. And then eventually the new Earth is in the 5th dimension, where we're going to be, for the first time in universal history, we are going to be taking our bodies, our physical bodies, and integrating it into the 5th dimension, which unites with our light bodies. So when you think of metaphysical, it's spiritual. And when you think of physical, it's material. We're going to combine them all together. So our bodies are going to be lighter. They're going to be healthier. There's not going to be any more pain or suffering, anything like that. It's going to be such a slow transition, though, because people don't realize it right now, but your DNA has been already being upgraded by the solar flares that people have been hearing about, and plus the sun is changing. So get out in the sun, because that's upgrading your DNA, so that'll help the healing. So experts are saying 2027 And then some are saying it could go all the way to 2030, 2033. That's where you guys are starting to hear about the extraterrestrials are starting to come out with all that. They're all a part of this. This has been going on. The extraterrestrials, ET has been around since 1947. So there's a reason why the government is talking about it now, and people are starting to see things in the sky. So it's just to plant the seed so it doesn't freak everybody out. But it's already happening, and people just need to be aware about it.
Is this the third dimension?
Yes.
Okay. And the dates that you gave, were you talking the fifth dimension by that time or the fourth?
Well, right now we're in the fourth. We're jumping back from the third to the fourth, back and forth. People who had their awakenings have seen the fifth dimension. I've seen the fifth dimension. I've been there like consciously, not physically. So I can see where we're headed. But basically, we're switching our conscious into the fifth. So people are jumping. I jump back from the fourth to the fifth. I try to stay away out of the third dimension as much as possible. And that is where we grew up in fear. So if you're living in fear, you need to start getting out of that because you won't have an easy transition into the fourth to the fifth. It's going to be a quick jump from the third to the fifth, but it's a slowly just touching a little bit in the fourth so it doesn't, our physical bodies can handle the transition. If you start being a service, which most of us are, that's why I don't think it's going to be such a difficult transition. Service to others, 51%, you're going to transition. If you're not, and you're just service to self, what you're going to, die. You're going to die in the third, transfer your body, your spirit into another planet, heal all that trauma, and then eventually make it to the fifth. This is the first time in history our physical body and our consciousness is going to go into the fifth dimension, but the ones who don't want to transfer aren't going to. And that's soul contract too. Some people aren't going to make it. I don't know about you, but I've had a lot of people in the last couple of years pass away. And we've been hearing it all over the news, a lot of famous people too. It's because their souls came down here and didn't want to do the journey. So we can't take that such to heart, So it's going to be rough on people. A lot of people are going to perish, but it's also helping to raise the vibrations. So you have to be healthy.
Do you think that COVID had anything to do with this transition? Yeah.
It had everything to do with it. COVID was written in the 1950s. This was all planned. So when I went through my awakening, this is what I found out. And this is like what jolted me in my awakening. And I went down the rabbit hole. And this is where I started learning about when you wake up, you start realizing the world around you have been a lie. And it's not just the life we're living now in the last 50 to 100 years. We're talking about like thousands of years. This has been going on. So this has all been written since the 50s. COVID happened to stop the awakening. So what happens is there's 1% of the population, and I don't like to give them any light, but I'll give them a little bit because I left that world. But 1% of the population controls us. It's been controlling us through media, through fear, through everything, through our food, through our air, through our water. And once that happens, we're not free. If you think we're free, you're never going to know what freedom is, and that's where you're going to stay. But when you realize you're not, you're going to search for it, and then you're going to find it. So COVID was to stop the Great Awakening. Put them in fear, the vibrations of the planet goes down, and it slows down the process. Now, what happened with COVID, which turned out the opposite effect. Yes, people lived in fear. People stayed home. People couldn't work. People had to go within. People woke up. They were like, wait, something's going on here,
Mm,
or they were hitting rock bottom like I did,
yep.
or their addictions were taking over, and it woke them up. So it did the exact opposite. And this is how the Great Awakening. So we've been slowly going through it since 2012, but the 2020 is what made the Great Awakening really spin hard.
And that makes perfect sense because after COVID, so many changes personally within people took place. Divorce rates went up. People had shifts in careers, not their own choosing to do that. It wasn't that it was forced upon them. But I think it was almost like a personal awakening at that moment going through COVID.
It is. It's very personal. So people got to see what their true talents are. You're going to work every day. You're sitting in traffic. You're hating your job just to pay your bills, to put roof over, your head and your family. So when you're forced to stay home, people started doing woodworking. They started doing making candles. They started like using their talents. They started painting. They started becoming creative, and then they started selling it, and people started their
Mm.
own small businesses. And that is where the world is going. We are all have talents, and we're going to start transitioning into barter and trading instead of just everything is financial. So if someone has a service that you want, and you can trade for your services, and that is the fifth dimension. There's not going to be any taxes. There's not going to be any wars. There's not going to be any illnesses. We're going to have clean air, free energy that has been around. The ones who discovered it since the 1920s, 30s, they've all been taken out. It's all coming back around. We're talking about getting our free energy back, clean water that's been poisoned. Like they're starting to realize there's fluoride in your toothpaste that stops your third eye from opening up. The big pharma is going down. Like you don't need all these medications. Like that's what's slowing you down. Well, I got off like I was on medications for years for rosacea. When I got off it, I found out it was for depression. And then when I was going through my like 2018, I was really foggy, and they were saying, "Oh, you have ADHD," and they put me on Adderall. And then 2020 is when I just decided to get off everything, and I just like woke up. So I do believe the medications were stopping me from seeing what's happening. What happens is when a doctor puts you on a prescription, it will mask the problem, but it's not going to heal it. But it's going to cause another problem. So then they give you another, and then they give you another. Do you not notice like your elderly parents that they have like pills 20 a day they're taking?
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
my dad was on like 4 different like blood pressure medicines. Why? He started like heart, and then it started retaining water. Well, let's get him on water pills. That's when he started going down. I mean, I've been begging him to get off the medications, and I think he stopped like half of it, and he started walking again.
Now this is
So
this is
that's just
who you're
personal.
referring to?
My father,
Your father. Okay, gotcha.
and just every elderly person I know, my grandparents, everything, they're on so many medications. You don't need this. Mother Nature provides us with everything. All the plant medicines are provided for us, so they're going to start going down too when people wake up and be like, no, that was all to harm us. And
So
it's all money.
I have so many
It's
questions,
all
Allison.
money.
Just lots of questions here. First one, when the transition to the fifth dimension is made, or it's happening, call it whatever year you think it might have been, 2032, whatever it is. How is that going to look where some have transitioned over, but those who can't get rid of their baggage, did not heal, they're back over here? What's the planet going to look like at that time?
So that was like the best question. So this is interesting. The transition is when you raise your vibration, and we talked about this last week. People kind of disappear in your life. That's how it's going to be.
Hmm.
One day you're going to be like, what happened to that person? I don't see them around much. And they're going to be living in their world, government control, fear based. There's going to be more diseases. There's going to be another lockdown. Let's raise your taxes. That's where they're going to be living. Mother Nature is going to just start destructing, like it slowly has been, because she needs to do a cleanup. And the ones who are going to transition, their bodies are going to get healthier. They're going to feel lighter. They're going to just, the, the world is going to be brighter. Abundance is just going to flow easily. Their manifestations are going to come in. Love is going to be the new conscious way, and everyone's going to be barter and trading. So it's like the worlds are going to shift and people don't even know it. It's going to be the slowest transition. And the ones that don't go, a lot of them are going to perish. And then the ones who do stay, they're going to be like, oh, those people were crazy. Okay, well, the ones who are gone, they're like, we're just living our beautiful heaven on earth, and we don't know what happened to anybody else because it ain't our business.
So we're all going to coexist. We're all going to be around. We're just like we are now, except that those of us that have made it to the fifth dimension will have a different awareness, a different perspective on things, where the others will be just doing their thing like they always did. But
yeah, it's just a switch, a change of consciousness. And it's not one bad, one versus good.
Right.
It is what it is, and it's nothing scary. People are going to continue living their lives of how they're living it.
But you know what?
Are the ones that are going to be doing the hard work to get to their heaven on earth.
But they might be happy with that. Those people stuck in 3D, that's all they ever knew. They didn't have an awakening, so to speak. They didn't kind of get it, and they're just going to kind of do their thing. You've shared with us that you had a spiritual awakening, which was pivotal, like earth-shattering. It was huge the way you described it. Were you plugged into the metaphysical world and a lot of this stuff prior to that and then had that awakening, or did that awakening just open the floodgates for you?
It opened. I mean, I always, like when I was younger, I always felt I saw spirits, and then I thought it was just in my head. I always had a very strong intuition, and I always denied it. I always talked to animals and plants, but didn't really know. And then when that happened, all of the stuff that like I was denying came out. It was like, yes, I have been doing this. Yes, I was correct. So I always had those abilities. And I think that's why I was aware of, okay, this is something new, and I'm going to go with it instead of blocking it. Because I think a lot of people have awakenings, but they don't really know. And if you don't believe in stuff, you're not going to really experience stuff. I've always believed in spirits. I believe in everything. If I believe in Bigfoot. You say it's out there. Okay, who am I going to tell someone that they're crazy? I believe in extraterrestrials. You see them? Why am I going to tell you you're crazy just because I haven't seen it? And then when I started being aware and I had my awakening, believe me, I've had close encounters with ETs. I see ships above my house every night. My husband didn't believe it. He sees them now. I've had close encounters of the third kind. I had a one-on-one contact. I've seen a fairy. My actually husband, who didn't believe anything, saw a fairy. He's like, what was that? Was that what I think of it? I go, yes. When you're around me, your vibrations are going to be higher because I try to keep my high. The metaphysical world naturally comes in. I believe in unicorns and dragons and all that stuff. If it was a thought before, it's just in a different dimension. Nothing was ever made up. If someone made it up, it's because it popped in their head for a reason. They lived that lifetime in another life, in another parallel universe. And that's what I believe. No one has to believe anything I say. Do your own research. I mean, I did mine and I found out everything I was going through. There's a lot of us going through the same exact stories.
Wow.
Just start believing in things, and magic will happen. If you don't believe in magic, then magic's just not going to happen. And that's okay if you're comfortable with that, because it's scary for a lot of people. I've always been comfortable with it. So I think that's why I was open to it.
Yeah, I think that's it. You just said, Allison, I think a key point there, to be open to it. That, when you sense something, when you feel something, whatever it might be, that you don't just shoo it away. It's like, you know what? Maybe there is something to that. I kind of always believe that things happen for a reason. There are no coincidences. And then when I started opening up my mind to it and really seeing things and how the synergy of things go together, it's like, yep, I'm good now. I'm validated. Same thing with if you believe in astrology, Mercury retrograde, which starts tomorrow. Um, there's something there. Psychics and astrologers would tell me all the time. Yeah, Mercury retrograde, don't take a flight if you can. Do, watch communication. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Then I started looking and I was open to it. And then I was like, yeah, there's something here. Why is that happening during this period, but it didn't happen over there? Why? What's the answer? It's not
This
just
has
like,
been going on our entire lives. We just got shut down to it. Like in the 1700s, 1800s, the Egyptian era, all this is stuff. I mean, they followed the astrology and numerology. Everything is numbers our entire life. Everything adds up to nine. 9 times 1 is 9. Just 9 times 2 is 18, which equals 9. 9 times 3, 27, which equals 9. It's wild. I mean, and if you want to just get like very basic, the food you eat, you've heard of the Farmer's Almanac, right?
sure.
So it's a book, and it teaches them like when to plant certain seeds and when this will grow. They base it on astrology. That's where the Farmer's Almanac is. So if you want to learn astrology, read the Farmer's Almanac. And
Hmm.
everything we put in the body was grown because of astrology. We're not just one universe. There's billions of universes, and they're all going on at the same time, and we're always jumping in and out and quantum jumping into different realities, and we don't even know it. So I mean, you heard the whole Mandela effect that's been going on the last few years. Everyone's like, oh, I thought it was fruit of the loom, but then they say fruit of this, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that people are noticing that they're like, we're up with it saying this way, and it's changing. It's because we're switching out of different parallel dimensions. It's actually really fun when you believe and you start getting into stuff. You're like, it's not even scary anymore. It's wild to believe that, God, thank God we're not the only race. I mean, we're a bunch of dum-dums. I want there to be like higher species so we can learn from.
Mm.
We didn't start with the caveman era. I mean, if you look at like what do you call it? Oh, I can't even think of it now. But like you look at the dinosaur ages and all that, and the carvings on the
You mean
walls, and
prehistoric? Are we saying
yeah, the
prehistoric?
prehistoric ages. I mean, and there's drawings on the walls. There's ancient people with cell phones and bikes, and there was giants. I mean, you look at these big buildings; they weren't made for us. So I mean, there's a lot out there. I believe there's an inner Earth where other beings are living and higher dimensional beings, and I don't really know about the whole if the Earth is flat or round versus I don't care. I just like to know that there's higher beings out there that we can learn from, and we're pretty intelligent too, and we just don't know how intelligent we are. And I want everybody to realize how smart they are. If we only use 10% of our brains, that's a problem. And that's why our DNA is being upgraded. So we only have, when we're born, 2 to 3 strands of our DNA. We're supposed to have 12. And that's why we're getting healed with our DNAs. We're going to get our 12 strands back. And that's where all your superpowers are going to go back in.
Well, don't you feel that a lot of this stuff that we're talking about, we may experience it? The average person may feel the intuition, may feel energy, but they're afraid to be judged or hear from others. Are you kidding? Extraterrestrials, come on. Energy healing, everybody's energy. Give me a break. Come on. Do you feel that we just shut it down because of
We
judgment?
are the problem. I'm not going to blame it on like the 1% that control our population or even the media. We are doing that to each other. And when we shut somebody down, then
Hmm,
they shut down, and then other people
that's my
can't learn
point.
from them. And it's just because we're scared of the unknown, and we're afraid of stuff that we haven't seen. So the word crazy is easy to say instead of going, wow, I didn't know that. I would like to learn more. So, once people stop shutting people down, then they'll be a lot more educated, and then more things will happen to them. Like you say, there's no coincidences. There's miracles happening around us all the time. And once you see one and you believe it, you're
Yes.
going to start seeing more. Once you trust your intuition and you're like, wow, I'm so glad I trust that, or that could have done me a lot more harm, then you're going to trust it more. And when you do that, you're going to naturally become more powerful. Trust yourself, trust your eyes, trust your gut, and things will start happening more. You want to shut people down, you're only shutting yourself down. You're doing harm to you.
I totally agree. And even sometimes seeing is believing, like Reiki. I remember being 17, interning at a cable TV station on the camera, and there's some woman doing some Reiki thing. And I'm like, whatever this is, I don't even know what is Reiki. I don't even know what it is. Fast forward years past that, I was exposed to metaphysical stuff again. Helped somebody very notable launch a major website all about metaphysical. Back to Reiki again, and all of that. And I was like, yeah, that's really cool. Fast forward 10 years past that, and here I am a few years ago, did Reiki. I was like, oh, that's what that was. Finally got it. Seeing is believing. This Reiki, this energy thing, this is real. But it was always around me, but I didn't really pay attention to it
The universe is always throwing it at you, and you just kept shunning it away.
because I didn't know what this universe thingy was until I realized that it's there to support you. It's there saying, "Hello, I want you to know this." But a lot of times, either we're afraid, we have fear of change, so you just like block it all out. Yeah, yeah, whatever. Yeah, okay, until you open yourself to it. Same thing with, like you said, seeing signs. Ask for a sign, maybe from a relative who passed, whatever it might be. Be open to it. I can pretty much almost guarantee you're going to get it, and it's going to be very specific. It's not going to be,
You're gonna know.
you're going to
And then
know.
you'll deny it too. You'll be like, "Oh, that was just a coincidence." It's like, don't do that to yourself. And then
No,
because once you admit it, the universe will send you a lot more. And then you just can't deny it. And like with Reiki, we're all energy beings. We can all heal ourselves, and
yep,
we can all heal other people. But you have to heal yourself internally. I became a healer when I healed my trauma, and I was doing this a lot, go like this, and then I'd pull away, and you feel this energy. I could feel this energy bubble, and then I would I had torn my hamstring, like 3 tears. They said like I would always have a limp.
mm,
I have no pain anymore. I just started doing it on myself. I was supposed to have surgery, and I denied the surgery because it was going to be awful, and it was like a 50-50 chance if I could walk. I'm doing fine. So I started using it on my animals, and I watched their healing process. And just recently, on Thanksgiving, I was in my barn and I was cleaning the animals, and I had to cook food and get the house ready that day, and I slipped and fell, and I like called my husband, going, "Come down to the barn really quick," and he had to help me up, and he sat me down, and he's like, "I think I broke my foot and all my toes." Like that's how bad it was. And he's like, "I'm gonna take you to the emergency room." I was like, "I can't. I got too much stuff to do." So he went to the house to grab like some shoes or slippers. I just automatically just started doing this with my hands, and I put it over myself. It literally just, I could feel the energy start healing. By the time he came, because my foot was turning black, and he even saw it. When he came back, he's like, "Your foot's not black anymore." And I got up and I started walking. And I was like, wow, like that's the most I've ever healed myself. It usually takes a while. So when you really start healing yourself and you start physically taking care of yourself,
hmm
I've
it's
never seen it changed in front of my eyes like that. And I felt it.
it's
And I was
legit.
like, wow, and you can do that too.
I'll believe me. It's 5 seconds. I'll make it a 20-second story. Fell out of the attic, rode the stairs down, impaled on cement, hit my foot. Um, there was trauma to the foot. It wasn't broken or anything like that. A week later, I have this like planter's warts. Never had them in my life. What is this? Go to a podiatrist. He's doing whatever he can do, not going away. And I go back again. I'm like, it's still there. It's, it's uncomfortable. It's painful from this trauma. He's like, yeah, you need to will it to go away. Will it to go away. Use your mind and will it to go away. I'm like, okay. So I did. 3 days later, it was gone. Can't make it up.
That's a good doctor. I like that doctor. Instead of just giving you all this medication to mask it, and that's amazing.
That true story. I could like, what? Will it to go away? Just in your mind, tell your body you want it to go away. I'm not making this up. 3 days later, it was gone. It was gone. So that was my opening my
That's
opening line.
great. And you can I love that because you can tell people going from my experience this happened. And if they don't believe you, there's so much research out there. You can't deny it anymore. And if people don't want to do their research, it's just because they don't want to do it. And that's okay too.
Well,
But
let
as
them.
long as you know, that's amazing.
Oh, you know what? For those people, let them hang in the third dimension.
That's fine. That's fine too. We need that too, right? Like
Yeah,
there
there's
always has to
balance. There's
Yeah, there has
balance.
to be a balance. So,
Yeah.
I tell people, thank you for your service. I'm gonna
Yep.
go here. You're gonna see there. Thank you for your service. Without you, without the trauma that even I've experienced through other people in my life, I think them every day because it made me who I am. If you don't
Mhm.
have trauma, then you don't, like you said on our first meeting, like if your life was perfect and there was no sadness, like how would you know what happiness was? And that was the best statement.
Right.
Like when we were happy. So with all the stuff I've gone through, I thank everybody for it because it made me who I am. It made me the most healthy, strongest, independent, and authentic self.
Yep.
When people don't care. My number one thing is stop caring what anyone thinks about you. You came out of the world alone. You're gonna die alone. And at the end, it doesn't matter. You came here to be you. We're all different for a reason. When we go back into the spirit world, we're all one. We're all one energy being. And the reason why we came to Earth is to feel what separation was, to feel what touching and hugging and loving and crying and hating, because you don't have that in all the other dimensions. This is the only dimension we get to actually experience it. So enjoy it while you can. I know it's easier to say because I say it all the time, and then something happens, like a death of a loved one. I'm like, no, this sucks. I hate this. I don't ever want to feel this. But then the time it goes away, and then you feel joy again. But it's all a learning lesson. We've all come back here hundreds of times. It's because we just keep trying to do it right. We might be bored in the other planets. Who knows?
But you know what? When somebody passes, if you're open to it, their energy is still here.
Oh yeah,
And again,
they're right there with you.
I think my relationship, and this is going to sound weird to say, is better now with my mom. And we had a great relationship in spirit
Yeah.
because I feel so connected to her. It's the weirdest thing. I can't even describe it, but you know what? Until you do, you don't know.
And you feel her around you all the time, don't you?
All the time. Just
Yeah,
gotta
and she
ask.
leaves you signs, and you know it's her.
Oh my gosh, they are so specific. There's no denying that that is specifically left for me.
That's beautiful.
It's freaky, but it's real. And I could go on for hours. I remember the time I was thinking this, and then she sent this, and remember the time that. I can't make it up. I mean, it's, I don't want to bore
It is so
everybody
true.
with.
It's like, God, they're always in my head. They know what I'm thinking, my
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of weird too. Listen, we're out of
I know.
time.
All right.
Great conversation today. Very interesting. If somebody is going through stuff, especially a spiritual awakening, or just wants to navigate life in even a spiritual way, journeytoheavenonearth.com is your website. And you're available. If somebody has questions that's resonated with them, this 5D thing, whatever it is, they can reach out to you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah, Allison, great talking with you. And
You too.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you. That went by quick.
Yeah, it almost sounds weird to say, but it's almost a new year. And it's going to be an interesting one. I kind of feel that way.
It's going to be a good one. I'm excited. I'm so excited for it.
Same.
2020 was rough on everybody. 21, 22 is transition. 23 is going to be amazing.
It's the one.
It really is. And you guys, a lot of things are going to go down. Things have to change, and it has to get worse before it gets better. Just go with it, ride it out, because it's going to be beautiful.
Yep. Positivity Doesn't hurt either.
Exactly.
All right. All right, Allison. Thanks. We'll talk soon. Okay.
All right, bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.